things you have to look at. You have to first of all uh, have to like kids, enjoy being with them. That is number one. You have to have patience because the, if you don't have patience, then you won't enjoy it, and and you have to have fun, and I teach by asking questions, and uh, we have to realize how brilliant kids are, and that is like number one. They're so smart, and not they're smarter than years ago, but they were always smart, but no one recognized it. And so a lot of teachers looked down at kids or taught them like they were better than them. But I've never had very few kids call me Mr. Andrews. They call me Alan, and and I felt that was a compliment. And so what I do with them is I give them big words to explain. Like I'd say, like, do you know what triangulation means? And if they say no, okay, so I go home and Google it. Go home and Google it and come back and tell me what triangulation is. And then they'd go home and they come back and one little fellow would always say, well, it's like it's triangles. And and I said, okay, that's triangles. And they they learn what that is, and then we have a triangle drill, and then they see how that works, and the classroom sessions is essential. I use one of the boards like Tommy with the little man on top of it, the magnetic men, and those kids push them around and learn from that as well. And then say a word like rotation and all that kind of stuff, or think and sync. What's that mean? And give them, and they come back and tell me what it is, and then we relate it to the game, and then uh, we teach, you teach, the kids teach, and they team teach, and we teach together. And now we're developing future coaches because they're learning how to teach. And and when they get up in front of a board, well, first of all, they get up and say a few words to start them off with as far as speaking on their feet. And they all get a hand. Everybody claps. And if they're up on the board teaching the drill, if it's not quite right, you don't say that's wrong or this is the way you should do it. We say, well, that's one way of doing this. And anybody else, and then somebody else comes in and talks, and all of a sudden they're team teaching. And and what else is there? We sit around a table with that board, and we learn so much. And on the ice, I never use a board. I I talk to them, explain the drill, and and they picture that in their minds because kids lack imagination. They don't have as much practice at imagination now because they've got everything to do it for them. They watch on the computer and TV and all that stuff. So they get up and they so they do all that, and then they picture they pick word pictures in their mind of what we do, and then they go through it, and then all of a sudden they're doing these unbelievable drills that you be just as complicated as any NHL team would run, and then there's a progression into like to individual skills and uh, uh, anyway, I'll explain that when I get you at the board here. Um, and the other thing is, kids will rise to the level of the expectation of the people they admire. And so, if you tell them that, oh, you can do this, and teach them how to set goals, and I one guy that sent me a video, he saw something about me talking about dreams, and he showed me his, and I got it on in my phone here. Uh, he got his dream sheet, and he was Josh's age, and he was from Summerside, not wealthy people, but he came and played. He'd play against Josh in the winter and with him in the spring. And anyway, his name was Daryl Boyce. So he had the dream sheet. His mother kept it, and it was a piece of white paper, and on it he put in small print Bantam and an arrow going down to uh, major midget, and then junior, and then Big Ar going to NHL, and he was a hard worker, a great kid, and he sent me this like in the last 5 6 years, and anyway he he sent me that, and the end result was he played major bantam, and then he played midget. He went to play major junior in Ontario. Then he played for Gardner at UNB for 2 years, won 2 championships. Then he signed with the Leafs, played some up and down in the NHL for really many years, and he quit after 2 years at UNB, but he continued his education and he got his business degree. And then he went to Europe for a number of years, come back, and he was a coach, one of the coaches, Moncton Major Junior. And now he's got quite a big job with a bank, and he's got his own kids, and they'll be coming to hockey school. But the progression, he had that thumbtack to his seal in the housing development he lived in, and every day he looked at that for years, and it was just a pencil or a pen on a white sheet of paper, and the progression there, and he'd look up to it, and if we have benefit games, he's always there. He's done a great. He's a great person. He's got a great family, and he's grown up, and he, uh, he's a prize, And there's so many of those kids that have come through our system. And Sydney came for eight. Sydney came for eight summers, and he'd stay for more than a week, and became a demonstrator, a junior instructor, and just a wonderful boy. And Nathan McKinnon came specifically for skating, and he came for a number of years. Well, always a little small, but he's not a little small anymore, and he's doing great. He's tied for the lead right now in the NHL. And I think we have 10 players playing in the NHL this year, and every year we get more going up, and we probably had 60, 50 or 60 guys and many more got drafted and didn't play a game, but they probably could have if they had been more focused. But anyway, that's uh, that's where it's sort of gone. But I'd like to be able to sit down and show you the progression I would teach in one drill and how that affects that child, because they learn to speak on their feet. In fact, there was different times that I call one guy out of the audience. He's about 9 or 10 years old. When we have our get-togethers, used to have our get-togethers on Sunday, went and talked to all the parents about what was going on in the week. I just said, "Come on down, Connor, and talk to the folks for a while." So he came down for about 10 minutes and talked to the whole audience without notes, and made sense. Everything he said, it was a really good little speech. And so they learn that way, and they become good people in their community, and so and I've learned so much from them, and I've got so many stories, Wally, that sometimes I can't get through them without crying. But there's some beautiful stories I'd like to tell you sometime. But if you could come over for an hour today, I'll get something to eat here now, and you kind of woke me up, and and I'll because I wasn't feeling good, but I'm starting to feel better now that I'm talking to you.
Well, I won't be able to make it today. I've got to be on the ice at 4 o'clock.
Okay, that's fine, and that's great.
Tomorrow we're going to Skype again, and I'd like to get you on as a guest, and I'm going to throw questions at you tomorrow. But I've got a good start today because I've got a ton of questions, but I'm going to use the time with you when you're here in Calgary to sort of capture your technical knowledge and how you teach kids to understand the game and play the game.
Well, if I could show you on the board how I do a drill, and how it affects the child in so many ways, and how they learn without even knowing they're learning. They're learning deception. They're learning skills and all the kind of skills they're learning, and how it progresses from just somebody going in and shooting out the net to all of a sudden you've got all these other things that it develops into, and and they do it in the classroom, and it's a personal development program, and because our number one goal is to teach kids that they can do something great with their life, and then to give them some tools to make it happen. And it's a it's a lifetime of learning, and but you, I love kids and kids like me, and they 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 appreciate things, and the best way to teach parents is through their kids. And if you teach the parents through their kids and you're honest with them, and you treat them all the same and treat them with dignity, and hold them accountable, and that's a huge part of it's a high form of love to hold a kid accountable, and to make him to use discipline and with kindness, and discipline that makes sense. And so when I asked one of the kids I work with, why do you get benched, uh, for staying on too long? And then all of a sudden they understand they're taking somebody's ice time, but they'll answer me with, "It's for our future coach." And so they know that what we're doing is for their future. It's not just for to be upset or get mean at them or anything. Just say, and then they'll come when they're on too long. They'll come and sit on their own, and they'll know they're on too long. Or if they're not passing the puck, then we never penalize mistakes, because that's one of the major ways you learn is doing things. And but if it's selfish, then in fact I benched Ricky Vive for not passing the puck, and he invited me to his wedding, so he didn't hold it against me. And so years ago, and I he was the first Leaf to score 50 goals, and he did it 3 times, so it didn't hurt him.
Who's that? Ricky Vive?
Yeah, Ricky Vive.
Well, Al, what I learned from you, you have a headman rule. And at least I think it's you. I don't know whether I made it up or you did, but I find if players don't pass the puck, they just play one-on-one hockey. They get their heads down. They try to go coast to coast, and players are open ahead of them. So the idea of headmanning the puck, to me, it's a cardinal rule that a coach has to hold players accountable to and not let it go. But
No, never.
see the value of passing, and know how to teach pass and timing and support, anticipation, hockey sense. And that's something I'm beginning to spend more of my time on, however little we got left to pass on what we can. But
Yeah, and I got no. There's no question about that. That's where the patients come in. I mean, if the things that you watch NHLers, they're not even shoulder checking when they go for a puck sometimes, and I'd like to talk a little, when we get together again, about habits, because they're going to develop habits regardless of what kind they are, and a habit is hard to it's hard to it's learned by repetition. It's hard to learn, but once it's learned, it's hard to change. And so they might as well learn good habits and we call them championship habits when they're young, and like shoulder checking and going fast for pucks, I've got, so for instance, if I threw a puck in the corner and 2 defensemen went back, and I will later be joined by 3 forwards, and I send them in, and all of a sudden I blow the whistle, and they come back, and I said, "What happened there?" And they'll look and they say, "Well, we we didn't I didn't shoulder check." So one guy didn't shoulder check. So I said, "Why do you shoulder check?" "Well, So you'll see where your support is and where your pressure is. And I said, what's that mean? Well, your support is your teammates who I pass to, and pressure is what the other team is doing to hold you in your own end. And so they understand that. And then I sent it in again. I said, okay, let's do it again. So I throw the puck in, and they go in again, and I blow the whistle again. And I said, well, what happened there? Oh, one guy says, I didn't go full speed. I said, why do you go full speed? Because it creates time and space. What's that mean? Well, it gives us more room to show the puck and more time to do it. And so now each one that was making a mistake is also learning that he is affecting his teammate. Because if he had done it right, the other guy was doing it right. But they both have to do it together. And so they learn those little tactics and how to think and sync and stuff like that. So anyway, that's
That's what I call hockey IQ, because you're asking them questions. And one of the things we're doing now is teaching coaches to ask questions, not yell and tell and get angry, but to ask questions, because you know the answers, you know what to teach them, you know what they should do, and they'll do what you tell them, but they aren't really learning it in the under the heat of the game. And what you're doing at practice, it's pretty fundamental coaching that we have to look beyond just doing the drill. You have to ask questions about it.
Oh my goodness, yeah, and then the reason for doing everything should be explained, but they can't have hockey IQ until first of all they learn, and if they've never played and never thought the game, so a lot of kids have better minds than others for certain things, but as you say that you look to see how smart a kid is, you look out to see how a kid is smart, and which was wonderful. It's a wonderful thought, but anyway, that's fine, Wally. We'll shut her down here and then try to get together.
Okay, Al, thank you for your time. I'll phone you tomorrow morning when we get on the Sharks call, and then we'll try to get you connected, and you can listen to some of the gentlemen that are on there. There's a couple guys from the States. They're not as old as we are, but they're certainly wise men, and they're all doing good work for the game. So look forward to tomorrow morning, and looking forward to getting together with you again after that. I've got the meeting with the coaches site gentlemen tomorrow at 3:45. So maybe I'll come over there and do the meeting from your place with him so you can get to meet him and I can do my thing with him. But anyway.
You go ahead and do that, and then
Okay.
Then you're welcome to use any of our stuff with him. And Josh is 100% behind that. And
okay.
Because he really respects that site. He said it's a great site. And
it is. It is.
yeah.
Okay. Take care.
Thanks, Wally.
You're welcome.